Everybody loves Mario Kart, and we all have that one friend in the group that thinks they are the best. Okay, well, if you're a bunch of casuals, then yeah, they might be. But if you really want to be good at Mario Kart, there's a ton of different strategies and techniques you have to learn, and I'm here to teach you. Last time I went over 7 strats, and today I bring you 7 more. Now, some of these are short to the point and easier to understand, while others are a little bit more broad and conceptual. With that, let's start it off with a short one. Short and sweet on Koopa Cape. So on KC, you usually don't go for these boxes here on the zipper because they are wide on the turn, and you also get airtime off the zipper. So easy solution, you do a little wheelie hop maneuver to get this box without hitting the zipper. Boom. Now, this is mainly useful if you need to spam your items to get what you want. So in a Mogi, you might be in the back, Shock hasn't been used yet, it's lap 3, and you want to chain as many boxes as possible in order to try to pull Star, because you think Shock might come at the water stream set. So you could do this, spam your item, maybe it's triple shrooms, you go into the turtle shell, item set kind of thing on the right, and you're just trying to spam as many items as you can. In a war setting, you might be trying to spam your item for a blue, so you take this path, you go a little wide on the turn to get the item. Now you're still losing time because you are going wide, but you lose a lot less as compared to when you go off the zipper. And that's pretty much it. Another short and sweet one on Koopa Cape. Now, what we're doing here is dodging a blue shell on the waterfall. All you have to do is if you're in first, you're getting blued, you trail an item down the waterfall, and hopefully you dodge it. It's not random because I've seen other people do this. This is a known thing. There are clips of other people doing it. But for my clip, as you can see, I'm trailing a banana, and then I release my mini turbo as the blue shell's about to hit me. Now, I don't know if that matters. I don't know if releasing the mini turbo matters, but I do know you have to have a trail. Just think about it. In a normal blue, it's landing like right on top of you, right on top of the funky. In this scenario, the funky's pointed downwards, so it's hitting like the tail end of the bike, and it's also hitting the trail, so there's a lot more distance. And you're on the waterfall, and the waterfall makes you move faster as compared to the normal land. So this is consistent. All you have to do is trail your item, like I said. So if you see a blue, or you hear a blue, or someone calls out there's a blue coming, and you have a little bit of distance, you might want to actually slow down before the waterfall, and maybe get the correct timing so you can dodge it here. It's a little bit tough, and I don't think it's like 100% consistent, but it's definitely worth trying because it can work. And the next track we're going to be moving on to is It's Koopa Cape Again! Okay, so it's kind of Koopa Cape. This applies to a lot of different tracks, and what it is getting low air from a blue shell. So when you hit a ceiling, you lose a lot less time because you're not getting flung into the air by the blue explosion. KC has one of the best spots with this red shell, but there are a bunch of different spots on different tracks. Now, it only saves a little bit of time, but it could be the difference between you getting comboed to infinity and making it out unscathed. Now, of course, a lot of these spots are better than others. Some of them you kind of have to go out of your way. Some of them are really good as long as you are in the right spot at the right time, like that maple one right in front of the shortcut. You can actually take the shortcut afterwards if you want to, after getting that low air. And on CM, you can hit these arches. Now, sometimes it's better to try to get blued onto the boost pad, but if the car's in your way, the boost pad might force you into the car. That Grumble one is kind of niche. I don't think anyone's ever using that. The movie one's okay if you can get on the boost pad and hit the highway above you, but yeah, you always kind of want to get hit on the boost pad there as well. These BC Wii ones are nice, especially the one on the corner, because you go wide, so you avoid people running into you with shells or whatever. And the tree is just a super tight timing. And you have Peach Beach. I've never really used that, but it works. Parkway, I have actually done this one before. It only saves a little bit of time. Like that one in the Peach Beach one, like you still get a little bit of air as compared to here on RBC where you barely get any air. But it still is a little bit faster. And if you're there, you might as well remember to actually do it. Now here's a little bit more of a little tidbit, a little tip of information. So all it is that the golden mushroom lasts for 7.5 seconds. So this is important because when you're in the back and you're trying to chain your items for a star, or maybe you're trying to get shock or something, You want to be able to chain your items effectively, because when you pull a golden and you use it, it's going to last for 7.5 seconds before you can get your next box. So when you spam your first little bit of the golden, you want to look at the timer and see, okay, if it's at 15 seconds, you know that it's probably going to end around 23 seconds. So you can spam it a little bit, and then you see the item in the distance, and you see the timer going up, and right as it's about to hit around 23, you can use your last little bit of the golden and chain your item. This way you aren't guessing as to when your golden is going to run out, because if you mistime it, you're going to hit the item box, you're not going to be able to chain your item because you still have the golden, and you're just going to be kind of screwed. So it's important that you just look at the timer when you're trying to actually get rid of the golden and chain for something else. That way you can get your item box at the perfect timing. So I do this a lot on BC3 right at the beginning set. If I pull a golden and I want something else, I'll just spam it a little bit and then I'll wait for a while before I hit the next big item set before the graded section. And I do the same thing on Grumble Volcano at first set. You can spam it a little bit before you get to the split path section. You might have to wait a second before you're getting your next box. Now, I'm not going to leave you with just that. I have an actual golden strat that I think a lot of lower tier players should probably know, because the way I used to use the golden on Moonview Highway was the normal method where you start at the grass patches, you kind of golden up on the U-turn, and then your next item set is on the bridge. But what I've been doing recently is you start your golden pretty early after this toll booth before the next lap, and you golden up to the right side on that right side wall item set, and you shroom through it, you chain your golden, and the way it works is your golden mushroom boost lasts long enough to carry you onto that wall and back onto the main road, so you aren't actually losing any time by doing this. Normally when you go up that side wall, you're at an awkward angle and you have to slow down because you can't get a full wheelie on it in order to get the box. But this way you get a full usage of your golden, because you're goldening mainly on a straightaway and on the little grass passage, and you get the item box and you're back on the main road, and you don't have to golden on the U-turn, because goldening on this U-turn can be awkward. So yeah, if you have a golden on Moonview and you want to use it at a good spot, I think you should probably try to start doing this, because you get an extra item box this way. Now, this is my favorite one, number 5. Number 5. It's the coolest and the most conceptual kind of strategy I'm going to have on this list, and it's the idea of double backing when you're in first, or throwing your item forward to cover one part of the track and then backing another part of the track. That way you have 2 items on the field to maybe hit your opponent. And where I've been doing this, and where I've been seeing success, is on RBC on the turn before the bridge. I've gotten like a couple clips of it now where I throw a banana forward off of the wall and it lands in the tight line, and then I back around it. So what happens is the banana is covering the tight line, and then I go a little bit wider to cover either the normal or the wide line with a green shell or a fib or something. It's super good on lap 1 because people are most of the time just gonna have to go tight in order to keep their lead in second or third, and if they go wide, they're gonna get hit anyways. You pretty much have to take either the super tight line where you start wide and like hug the left wall, or you have to just be at a perfect angle where you kind of go in between both back spam. Now, when I say it's more conceptual, I just feel like this idea hasn't been explored fully and pushed to a very like high level skill. So like you've seen on Parkway before, it's very easy to do. You throw a fib forward on the bridge and then you back next to it. Or on Daisy Circuit, same thing. You can throw 2 items into the shortcut, or on Maple Treeway, same thing. The bridge is really skinny. You can put 2 items on there by throwing one forward and then backing right next to it. I've seen this a little bit on Coconut Mall, where you can throw your banana onto the left rail and then take the right path and cover that rail as well. And on lap 3 that can be super useful because it pretty much forces somebody to take the left path as opposed to just going up the escalator and not taking the railing on lap 2 when that's available. But aside from that, it's like pretty much the only spots I've really seen. So like for example, what I mean like this hasn't been pushed, on RWS, you can throw a banana forward at the finish line. It lands in either the tight line or the wide line after first set, and then you land in whatever line you didn't hit with the banana, and you back right next to it. So you're covering 2 different options. There's 2 nanas landing from that first hump. And you can kind of take that idea further. Let's say you go for a bigger ramp, like BC Wii on the final ramp. Let's say you throw a fib forward, and it lands in the middle where someone would land. and you land to the right and back another fib or banana on the right side. So now you're covering 2 different landing spots with 2 different traps. But of course, you have to actually make sure the fib lands in the right spot. But that's very easy to lab out. That's what I did on RBC. I kind of labbed out what angle worked for the banana to always land in a pretty good spot for me. And it shouldn't be that hard to just realize, okay, if I throw a fib here after getting my mini turbo or while I'm at 97 kmh and I'm not hopping or I do hop or whatever, it's always going to land right in the middle, right where someone would land. Like, that's not very hard to lab out. The thing about this concept, though, is it's definitely not optimal all the time to be throwing away both your items like this. If someone's close to you and you try to double backspam them in this way, you know, you might just not hit them and then you can lose your items. Or you might literally back in like a terrible spot that no one would ever hit. And that's kind of why you have to lab it out, because you want to make sure that your item lands in a good spot every time. The thing about the RBC spot that I use is that it's pretty good when people are close to you, because they're probably going to hit it because they're forced to go super fast and they want to just go as fast as possible to avoid the pack behind them. Or if you have a break-in first, you don't have to worry about red shells hitting you because there's so many corners there and you can just safely double back spam on the turn. So do with that what you will, and maybe practice and try to think of some spots of your own that could maybe work, and then you can put somebody into your niche montage. Bang. You can throw red shells at people while they are in the middle of a turn, and even if they are trailing protection, you can hit them with a red shell. This is because the red takes the turn even tighter and ends up on the side of the player as opposed to right behind them. The most common spots you can do this are the MC3 shortcut turn, the RBC shortcut turn, Parkway shortcut turn, DK Mountain turns before the shortcut, this turn on Raceway, big shortcut turn on Gardens, and the last turn on Koopa Cape. In order to avoid this, you might need to slow down, hop around a little bit to make your trail pop out behind where the red's actually going to be. So you have to adjust yourself either left or right. It's probably going to be the opposite of where you actually want to go in order for the trail to end up behind you and block the red shell. Now, there is another way to avoid getting redded, and that is if you have a shell yourself. I'm going to be using my boy's Chris's video because this was the only clip I could find of someone doing it. So he's going to get front redded here. And then boom, just throws the green. See how it's basically going right in front of him. So it's going to land on your head. You really just have to aim your green and hope it hits. And then it'll break. Now, the spots that I listed are the ones that can happen almost by accident. You can throw a red up, and without even intentionally doing this, it might side red somebody. Just because the turns are so big, there's so much space where you can actually get redded. But there are a couple other spots where you have to be way more intentional about what you're doing in order to side red or front red somebody. The first example being on Waluigi Stadium on this turn. You have to kind of hop trick on one of the ramps here, throw your red shell over the railing, and it lands on the other side. You'll land in front of that person and kind of go backwards to hit them. So here's a clip of it happening to me on Stadium. As you can see, I'm trailing this green, but the red is thrown over the fence and it lands in my face. Now, obviously I threw away my green, but you can see that it landed right in front of me. But I ain't going out like no bitch, so I'm going to let the rest of the clip play, even though I got front redded and owned. Now here's some more spots where it's less common to see. You have to be more intentional with what you're doing. So first we have Xander. He's on the RBC rail, and he throws the red up at that guy. Now, he didn't even have a trail, but the point still stands. As you can see, the red literally lands in front of him, and if he did have a trail, it would have hit him. And then moving on, this is, I think, Edison's. Yeah. So this is Edison in one of his montages, and he takes the little shroomless cut on Koopa Cape. Koopa Cape again, I know. But Barney, as you can see where the red is landing, if Barney was American, it would probably just hit him like straight onto the dome piece right in his face. But it lags a little bit because they're a different region. Barney gets hit. That's not even a side red. That's just a normal red. But the point I'm just trying to make is that this angle that he takes, obviously the red is just going to hit him there if he's American. And it's just going to hit him even if he has a trail. So same thing on this clip, Leop's clip. I think we've all seen this. Like I said, same thing. you're throwing the red from the side, it's throwing it at a guy who's turning, so he's turning into the red shell, and even though that guy had a trail, it's lighting his ass up. And here's another Xander clip to kind of like bring everything together, because every one of these red shell spots has been on a pretty big turn, and you're kind of like throwing yourself into the turn to hit somebody with your item. But here, as you can see, he just throws the red as Asmech is wide here. He knows, look, he knows Asmech's going to turn in. He knows he's going to be on the side, and he knows the trail is going to be more towards the left, and he's already more on the right. So if he throws the red, it's going to stay right. It's going to stay on the side of Asmech, and obviously it just hits because he's turning into the shell. And that's kind of the most important part. It doesn't have to be like one of these super niche spots. You can do it on probably any turn if you're aligned correctly. But the principle is that you want to throw the shell inside of where the guy's turning, so he's turning into the shell. And then finally, we'll go back to this video, and we'll skip up to here, I want to say. Yeah. So this is the JP spot, and it was obviously going to hit him, but that's going to bring us into our last topic. Number 7 is that you can use the POW to get invincibility frames to break items and drive through shit that you normally wouldn't be able to. If you want to actually use the POW to avoid things, pretty much just have to time it right. So in this clip, I'm about to get redded, and I am small, so I'm already moving pretty slowly, but I actually do slow down a little bit there. It might not be able to tell, but I slow down, I braked a tiny bit so that POW block hits me, and then while I'm in that spinning animation, the red also hits me. Here's a little bit more of a lucky thing. I just shroom up while the POW's happening, and I invincibility boost through that blue explosion, when normally I would spin out first. And if I was a little bit too early into the blue explosion, I would have gotten the POW block spin out, and then I would have hit the blue shell still. And of course, we have Moonview Highway. If you're POW'd at the right time, you can drive through the cars, and that invincibility actually lasts kind of a long time, so you can stay inside of the car even though you're done with the spin out animation, and you're just driving around inside the car for a little bit. Eventually you will kind of phase out of it, and then you can get hit, but yeah, if you do it too early, you'll get hit by the car, and if you do it too late, you can get hit by the car. But if you do it just at the right time, you can literally just drive inside the cars. It's crazy. And there you have it, 7 more swaggy strats for you to learn. Now, I will say that these strats and the ones I talked about in my last video, they are not the most important things. They are not the most essential things to your gameplay. They are not the bread and butter. But the reason I'm making these videos is because no one else really has. There's not a lot of documentation or discussion about the more uncommon strats and techniques that people use. So a higher skill level player probably already knows a lot of this stuff, but the way they learned it was through trial and error and dozens of events and races. So hopefully these videos help people learn quicker and lets them add things to their gameplay that normally would take hundreds of hours to discover by themselves. And that's all from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later. Peace.